Their change in course came after a July 24 meeting between Trump White House counsel Don McGahn and Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee, the substance of which isn't known. Last Friday, Senator Patrick Leahy, D. Vermont, criticized his GOP colleagues for the curious and troubling about-face and took them to task in a letter to McGahn. He asked if McGahn had spoken with Kavanaugh about the records, as well as Bush's personal attorney, Bill Burke, who is advising the former president on the release of his administration's documents. Kavanaugh's confirmation hearings are expected to start the first week of September. But the issues don't end there. As Rachel Maddow noted on Twitter, Leahy also asked if McGahn had reason to believe any of the records relate to several pertinent issues, including a proposed constitutional amendment to define marriage as a union between one man and one woman. Leahy's letter calls into question the roles Kavanaugh and Burke played during the Bush administration and, more specifically, what involvement they had in the constitutional ban on same-sex marriage vigorously promoted by Bush-era Republicans, a ban the Bush White House came to support in its first term. Kavanaugh began working for the Bush administration in 2001 as an associate to White House counsel Alberto Gonzales. In 2003, he became assistant to the President and White House Staff Secretary. The office of the Staff Secretary has been described as the White House's nerve center, and Kavanaugh's position included coordinating all documents to and from the White House. In 2003, the New York Times described him marshaling the fleet of largely conservative judicial nominees President Bush has sent to the Senate. He served as staff secretary until 2006, when the Senate confirmed him to serve on the District of Columbia Circuit after Bush nominated him 3 years earlier. White House aides had been talking about a federal marriage amendment since 2003, and there were media reports that year that Bush's staff was discussing how to codify the president's opposition to same-sex marriage into law. At the same time, then Vice President Dick Cheney, who has a lesbian daughter, was cool to the idea, later saying he didn't support it, so there was absolutely debate surrounding the issue inside the White House. Pressure was mounting from anti-LGBTQ groups in Bush's base who believed the president wasn't adhering to his promises. But some Senate Republicans had reportedly urged Bush not to weigh in on the issue, seeing it as divisive and something that could mire them. Kavanaugh, as White House staff secretary during that time, was certainly in the thick of these interactions and discussions. After Bush was re-elected, the president continued to give speeches in support of a ban on same-sex marriage. And controversy exploded in 2005 over revelations that the administration had paid right-wing columnists to promote its positions on marriage and the family. Kavanaugh was there for all of it. Marriage equality is the law of the land today. But it continues to be challenged, not only by those who want to treat gay couples differently, like anti-LGBTQ bakers and other business owners, but by those who want to send the issue back to the states to decide. In that speech, Kavanaugh also pointed to Scalia's dissent in Obergefell. Scalia called the ruling a threat to American democracy, as an example of what he liked about Scalia's judicial philosophy. Scalia, he said, viewed the court as having no legitimate role in creating new rights not spelled out in the Constitution. So what, exactly, are Republicans afraid the public will see in the Kavanaugh records from the Bush years, when the White House supported and promoted a federal marriage amendment? Justice Elena Kagan has previously recused herself from cases that might pertain to her work in the Clinton and Obama administrations. The public knows about those issues because records were released at the demand of Senate Republicans during her confirmation hearings. And the public should also know which issues Kavanaugh worked on in the Bush White House, how they may relate to cases coming before him, and if he would recuse himself from those cases. Michelangelo Signorile is an editor-at-large for HuffPost. Follow him on Twitter at @MissSignorile.